Well, hello and welcome to Ivory Blush Roses. Today we're going to do another rambling session. I'm still working on this autumn runner with herringbone stitches. I've got 5 seams left to finish. Stitches we may just work on a single seam, I don't know. We'll see where we go with it. But my goal is to have this finished by the end of August. I'm so glad you're here with me today, and I'd love to hear what you're working on in the comment section below. Let's get stitching. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so I thought I'd just do a quick recap about what I'm working on. This was a runner. I think it's about 30 inches long, and it was pieced by someone else. And I got this in a gift exchange that we did at a Crazy Quilt retreat a few years ago. And I hadn't done too much with it. In fact, it had a lot of things for a specific kind of border. And I got rid of those because I knew I wasn't going to want to use that border. The fabric's a mix. There might be some silk in it, but I think a lot of it is drapery type fabric, and who knows what the content is. Several years ago, I participated with Valerie Bothell in a daily seam stitching. She was posting a different seam every day on Facebook, and one month it was feather stitching, and I did my Molly Feathers wall hanging based on that one. And then the next month was herringbone. And I don't remember what happened, but I got distracted and I never finished. So I started this with seams from that. And then I've just picked that up. I have worked on this in the last couple of rambling sessions, I believe. We've added some beads and some other things and stitched some seams. And I want to make some progress. My goal is to finish this by the end of August if I can. I did pick up Valerie's book, Joyful Daily Stitching, Seam by Seam. And it has lots of variations, many of them which were ones that we had done in the stitching program. And so I decided to go ahead and continue using hers because her variations are actually quite different from a lot of the stuff that I do. It's always good to expand and try something new. In this, I had marked with little check marks which ones I had done. And then I put little circles on the ones that I was interested in doing and a check mark once they were finished. I don't like having the book out while I'm working. Instead, I just made myself a little cheat sheet of some of the variations that I thought I might be interested in doing. So I'm just going to have that here as a reference. And I have 5 seams left. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but part of the fun of working on this was figuring it out as I go. And since I've not been doing a huge amount of stitching lately, it's a good project to kind of get me back in the flow. I just need to look at this a few minutes and see what I think I want. On these long ones, I kind of like having a little wider seam. I think since these are big patches, it helps kind of fill up the space a little bit better. This one, I don't need as big a one. This one needs a big one that sits probably on top. So I think I'm going to do that. And something like this, I want to bring it on the inside as well, where this one can go right across the seams. I think maybe that's where to start. I think I'm going to do, oh my gosh, I don't know. I might do this one, because this is an unusual one. It's got the variation of the high and the low, and that might be good laying on that seam there. I kind of like that. And then this would be a good spot to put something like this one that's a little heavier. And then I have this one, which is one I've not really done too much of. I think they call it a picket fence pattern. And so I might do that down here. And I like this one that's got an overlay of some fly stitches on it. That might be a good one down here. I'm trying to think about ones that don't really look too much like what I've already done. I think while I like the colonial knot one, I've already done pretty similar to that. So I think I don't want to do that one. And there's also this stacked one where you have 2 rows of herringbone stacked with each other. But I'm kind of feeling like it may feel a little out of place. I do like that one, and I think that's what I'm going to do here. So now I just have to pick colors. Get out some of these threads that I've been using, see if I want to use any of these here. I'm going to lay this out because I want to try and balance it, and I think I like this one, which is a variegated green. Wonder. That might be what I used. Let's see how that would go for the main I think that would look good, and the green I think will show up against that. And then I could bring in flowers in some of these others. And I could tie in that and bring in some of that darker orange, or even, well, hello, Mushu. Buddy, you're right in the way. Always got to have a kitty friend. And then it'll have some beads. We can figure out beads later on. All right, well, let's go. Tie my knot. A needle. I like that one. So I've got some flowers sitting here on the table that are from my garden. My garden's looking really good. It was a slow start this year, and one of the reasons I haven't been doing any of these stitchings, I've been working on the garden, and I got some new garden beds done, so I'll share those with you. Worked at the garden center for the whole spring season, so from April till the beginning of this month. If I wasn't working there, I was working on my yard and garden to decide where I want this to lay. So as I'm looking at this, where my little ruler is, all right, let's get this one out. I think I want to set it so that these come just over here. So it sits like so. So just laying the ruler out on that helps me see where I'm going. And then I'm about 1/4 inch on this way for where it crosses. I'm just going to draw the lines where I'm going to put these outer edges. So here and here. It'll give me a guideline. Once I've got the pattern down, then that won't be so bad. So this first one's going to be pretty steep. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm symmetrical with it. There we go. And then these are smaller here. I think that's good. Try not to pull too tight. This is one of those where working on a flat surface can be really helpful because I can lay it out flat and see if it's looking symmetrical. So now I'm going to match my parallels now that I have my foundation set. And again, matching that up. I don't like working on the flat surface because I tend to pull things too tight, and I can see I'm doing that, and it's already causing some puckering. So I need to go back and loosen up and give. Wow, it's tightened up all the way back here. Look at that, it absorbed all that I took off. So now we're going to match this one. So I'm trying to think of other things I've been working on this summer now. I've been up to the mountains a few times and done some painting. That's always one of my joys, and I actually got to take my grandkids up one day. That was a lot of fun. We had a fabulous day, and we all earned our Junior Ranger badges, which was so much fun. I've been working on my family photos again, and that's been a kind of a never-ending job, but I feel like I finally have reached a spot where I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm really looking forward to that, getting that done and out of the way. I've been trying to scan these photos and put them in photo books, so I did 6 years worth of photos in photo books last year, and I'm hoping to do the same this year. So, well, this has gone by pretty quickly. I am going to just finish this off. All right, so there's step 1 on that. So these are all my threads that I'm using. in here. Oh, I could do those lazy daisies with some metallic. I've used metallic elsewhere on here, down here. That could be fun. Or I have that one. That's kind of a braided thing. I don't think that'll separate. That might be a little bulky. Yeah, see, there's some of that metallic in here. Okay, so let's see here. We were talking about maybe doing this darker orange, but what happens if I were to mix that? I'd give that little bit of sparkle. I think that's what I'm going to try doing. Now that's got that metallic, so I don't want to go too long on this. Let's call that good. Set those out of the way. I need a bigger needle because this is going to be a little thicker. That feels okay. I think that'll work. It seems a little sticky. Let's see if I can find my strawberry. All right, well, there's one here. This is my Hussy. It's a velvet strawberry and it's got emery in it. And so anytime you have a needle that feels a little sticky, like it's got residue or something on it, you can just run it through. I'm squeezing the emery. I want to put pressure on that needle. It also cleans any little burrs that have developed. And the idea is you don't want to poke it in and out, but just pushing it all the way through, smoothing it and cleaning it. And it gets all those accumulated oils and stuff off, and so that works really well. We have our doubled thread. These flowers sit on top of the shorter ones. So there's going to be a bead there and then the flower. So for safety, so I don't mess it up, there's going to be a bead there, and let's say a bead out here. All right, and I'm not going to do anything here because that other seam is, since it's a short seam, I want it to take precedence over this one. So not much marking, just enough to get me by. And I'm just going to make simple lazy daisies. Having that metallic in there adds just a fun little bit of bling to these. And 4-petal flowers are nice because the petals are just exactly opposite one another, so it's really easy to place them without thinking too much about it. That's too far to carry on the back, so I'm just going to do each flower and knot it. So I'm catching just my backing fabric in when I go under. Go through that again. All right. And look, see, I got one too loose. It's too late now. It's just gonna have to live that way. So I'm just gonna stitch my way across. I always try and use my fingers as eyes to feel what's going on the back. So if I feel something unusual, I try and stop and catch that, fix it before it's a problem. Unfortunately, I'd already made my knot on that other one. The knot was too far into it to really fix it. I'm really happy with how that's turning out. So yeah, this one looks a lot better on the back. I may go back to this one when I do the beading and secure that extra thread down so that it's not such an issue. And I like the subtle variation since it's the thread variegation from lighter to darker. I really like this metallic braid. This is from Rainbow Gallery, and it does say for very fine work and combining with other threads. And it is a lot easier to use than filament because it's already a braided thread, and so it doesn't have a lot of stretch. So that's really good. I really like that. They're not feeding through at quite the same rate. So when that starts to happen, I just straighten it out. I'm just going to gently pull along it, and so you can sort of see that the thread got a little more twisted. I'm going to bring my needle down and bring it back out. And hopefully that will balance those a little bit better. Sorry, I twist and turn my work all the time, as you can see. But I really do like the effect of that metallic with this other thread. It just really is making a big difference in this particular seam. I might only get a couple petals. We'll see. So I want to thank you for all the views on the YouTube channel. We're at 4,500 subscribers. That's amazing. I think when I started the channel, I was hoping we'd get to 2,500, something like that. And so I'm just so thrilled to see that there are so many of you who are watching and interested in crazy quilting. It just makes my heart glad. I've been seeing so much creative work on some of the online groups on Facebook. I don't need very much here. Just have one flower left to do. All right, that should be plenty long. We're one flower down, one flower to go. I'd love to hear just a little bit about what you're working on. The other thing I'd be interested in hearing as I go forward, I want to make videos that you want to watch. I would love some feedback on what you would like to see. I'd like to continue doing these ramblings. I want to hopefully pick up the pace a little bit on them. I've been filming a lot of other stuff and realized I really need to focus on crazy quilting on this channel and not so much the artwork and gardening and other things that I've got going on in my life. I share a little bit about that stuff in these rambling videos, and that's probably plenty on that. I do have a couple of projects that I want to do. I am interested in getting some of those going. I'm not getting any younger, and it's time to start making some progress on those. Let's take a look at these beads and see where we're at. So we need beads for the center of the flowers, and then beads to go at each of these intersections. So we have these gold ones, and I do have some of these that are bigger than others. I think those make a good center for the flower, but I think I want something different here, something that maybe brings some color. What happens? Yeah, I don't think those show up well enough, but I wonder if these would. I've got these coppery ones. I think it's too much the same. I think I need the contrast. I think we're going to go with these two here on this seam. I've already got one length of beading thread, so we'll take and see how far that one will go. I'm going to grab my bead mat, pull this forward a little bit, just a few of those out. Don't need too many because when you really look at intersections on here, there's not that many. We'll just start here at one end. I'm going to put the yellow ones on first. And this I'm just going to literally stitch back and forth. And I'm using that doubled length of thread, so that gives me a little added security for the beads. And I'm doing these so that the thread's running vertically up and down. It's just a simple little thing, but if you're looking at a seam and things seem off, are your beads running the same direction? Because if they're not, it does change the appearance. I don't know about you, but I like my things to have that consistent look. And I think that is going to be just, need to straighten it out. I think I pulled a little tight on this one. Yeah, that's better. All of a sudden it was puckering again. So make my knot. And beads, I don't trust these knots to stay, so I feel like nylon is slippery, so I always do 2 knots. Let's get the next length of thread. So I'm using one of these short beading needles. I believe it's actually a number 10 short millinery needle. It's got a little longer eye, which makes it easier. Doesn't mean it's easy to thread necessarily. I know for me, the older I get, the harder it is to see exactly what I'm doing. There we go. I run my beading thread pretty long. There, people will probably tell you that's wrong, but that's the way I do it. I don't cut these ends. Can you see that? It's about 1/2 inch long. I'm going to cut it to about 1/4 inch long. I don't cut close to that needle. I'm just looking at this. Now I'm actually going to put in this in the middle of this flower while we're at it. Since I'm right here, I should have done that down here and I didn't even think about it. I'm going to run through these twice because I want them to really sit nice in the middle of that flower. So that's great. We're going to get a whole seam done here. As I work on this, I may just film and put these out 1 a week here because, like I said, I really want to get this done this month. I've had so many of these projects laying around for so long, and it's time to get some of them out of the way. And some of these are things that I'd like to be able to use this fall. So once you get going, it actually goes pretty quickly, I feel like. I think I've been stitching for about 45 minutes. I know a lot of people will leave all the beads until last, but I love doing them as I go. I like seeing that seam, and it helps me keep things balanced. I have these seams on this particular one that I need to go back and add beads to, and I actually really dislike doing that, so. Anyway, back to what I was doing. I'd love to hear from you what you would like to see me do on here. Maybe in the next ramblings I'll take a few minutes and we'll take a look at some of the projects that I hope to work on in the near future. But I'd also love to hear, are there tutorials you'd like to see? Specific techniques? It would be helpful for me to know those things moving forward. I like these beads that have a little fatter presence. All right, one more of those. I'm going to tie our knot. Almost done. I just need to do that center bead in that first flower, and then that same thread I'm going to use to kind of tighten down that metallic that got a little bit out of position. Let's see where we're at. Let's go back to this one. Alright, so this one is the one when I turn it over. I'm just going through the backing fabric. I'm making sure I'm not catching the fabric in front. I can feel that, what I'm doing on the front with my fingers. There, so now that thread is caught and held off to the side so it's not going to pull back through. Doing my double knot. All right, let's put some beads away before I make too much of a mess with it. That one will fit on there. This one I'm going to stick on there so I don't make a mess. All right, let's take a look at this seam now that it is done. There we go. Metallic thread and pearl cotton, kind of an orangey yellow beads, and then the gold bead in the center. I'm pleased with how that's looking. So I'm actually looking at this thinking I need to come back and do beads on these. So that's going to probably be what I work on next on this. I'd like to get it done to this point, and then I'll just do each seam as we go. And I think that will finish these off really nicely. Thank you so much for being here with me today. It's been good to just sit here and stitch, and hope you've enjoyed watching me stitch this seam on my Autumn Runner project. Let me know what you're working on in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your suggestions for what kinds of videos you'd like to see from me about crazy quilting or hand stitching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.